Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting insight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I am Dan Sams.
It's so funny, man. I got 3 different podcasts, each where I kick them off. And I almost said the other intros. Hey, church planner. Wait, no, that's not it. Hey, thriving Christian business. No, that's not it. Oh, that's right. It's Freedom Nation. That's the one I'm on right now.
So you want to know what's fun? I was listening to the Church Planner podcast the other day. And when you kicked off, I'm Pete Mitchell. And then I hear Peyton's voice and I'm like, wait a minute, it was like I was shorted out and thought I was listening to our own podcast. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yes, Peyton is there, not me.
That's funny.
Good. That was awesome.
Oh, yes. Yes. I tell you, the day before the world either lights up in a ball of flames or, I don't know, man, day before election.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
It lights up in either a red ball of flames or a blue ball of flames. It's just which was going to be.
You'll have to excuse me. I'm not excited to see you. I have a pit bull in my lap. So.
Oh, it's totally all right. Nice. How's the new puppy doing, man?
Doing good. Now she's acting like a puppy. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can we put her? Oh, there's the little face. She's like, what are you guys doing? I was sleeping.
What's her name?
Zoe.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's awesome.
I don't know. I was thinking, maybe Parseval or, some call her Spartan just because I'm wearing a Spartan shirt, but no. Kids named her Zoe.
Zoe works. It's fun. Yeah.
Whatever, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, the world may or may not be continuing its steady descent into destruction tomorrow. So that's interesting.
I think the most, I don't know if it's frustrating or just the weirdest part of this whole election is going to be that we are not going to know tomorrow who won.
I know.
And I'm just kind of wondering, are the media outlets going to claim who won, even though there's no way anyone can know that Trump won?
Yep. It's
do you like how I threw that in there? No one can know that Trump won until, later.
Yeah. But I think he's going to win. It's hard to tell, but honestly, there's so many things happening here. First of all, I think it's worth pointing out, we remember not long ago where, they had basically declared it. What was that in the Bush-Gore election? They basically declared it for Gore, and then they go back and forth, and they had to admit, they screwed the whole thing up. And probably could have been influencing results, right?
Oh, totally.
Just facing facts. Well, then you have the polling in 2016 that was completely wrong. And we know that polling is used to influence elections,
right.
Absolutely. So one of the things I was actually listening to Al Mohler's The Briefing, which is I don't love him for everything, but it's a good one. And he was addressing how there's a lot of people that watch the Super Bowl that don't care, right? But when they poll people after the Super Bowl as to whether or not they were cheering for one team or the other, more people will say they were cheering for the winning team than vice versa. So there's something interesting there. People want to be associated with the winning team. So the kind of ambivalent voters, whatever, if they perceive that the election is going one way, they're more likely to vote that way, right? And so we know that this has been happening. If you're looking at the rallies for Biden contra the rallies for Trump, holy cow, nobody goes to
I
those.
wouldn't call those rallies for Biden.
For crying out loud, what was his name? Bon Jovi supposedly, and this is not just Babylon B, this is news. He did a rally, and I guess 12 people were there. 12 people, man. Did a rally.
See, I still keep coming back to the fact that camp, the liberal camp, is the one that's scared to death of COVID.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're not going to go to rallies. They're not going to go to meetings. They're not going to go to anything. They're scared.
Did you see the videos of the Trump supporters that ran the Biden bus out of Texas?
No, but I heard about this. What happened?
So I mean, I don't know the details, but I saw like on Twitter people share like basically like a bunch of I'm assuming Trump supporters with the flags and everything, like basically like surrounded the bus, honking, whatever, probably crowding it a little bit, like probably a little on the shady side here. And
I heard the FBI was turned on to that. Like they're investigating it.
Basically made them feel very unwelcome. Like, and it was a little bit like I only saw pieces and parts, but it looked like they basically surrounded him and honked horns and harassing. Theoretically, though, like if somebody's could have been trying to run him off the road or whatever. I don't think so. I didn't watch enough of that, but it's not sending a welcoming message. And so if you're going to look at voter motivation, you've got one group of voters that is scared to go outside supporting one candidate and another group of voters that, I'm not approving it, but is rabid enough to go and surround the opponent's bus to make it feel unwelcome in their state. I'm not saying that's good. I am not.
No, I'm not for that at all.
Something about voter turnout.
Yeah, I'm not for that at all because what makes our country great is the fact that we can have difference of opinions, and at one time we could be heard.
Yeah.
Now you're considered racist if you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
You're. I mean, it's devolving, and that I'm not in favor of. Like, we've made no secret on this show. You and I are not Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're voting for.
Certainly not Biden supporters.
That's the thing too. We're certainly not Biden supporters. Like, I don't know who you're voting for. I've definitely not voted for Trump or Biden. I just got to go turn in my 2 ballots, mine and my wife's. I filled hers out for her because she likes me to help her,
As head of household, that's the legitimate thing.
Well, I'm not, she still signs it. So
I can't even believe we let them vote. That was a joke.
Well, it's funny, man. Back in college, my buddy goes, "Hey, all that giving women the right to vote did was give husbands and fathers multiple votes." And I just started dying when he said that.
That's hilarious.
But I do have friends who the husband and the wife often differ. And they don't vote the same way, which I always find really interesting. Like, only from the standpoint, my wife could not care less about politics. She just doesn't care. I'm not even sure if she voted before I came along. I'm not even sure, right? So that's why she's just like, well, you follow this stuff, so I'll trust that you know how we should vote. Okay, great. Awesome. Here you go. Yeah. This is how we're voting on the props. And see, to me, the propositions are a way bigger deal because I'm here in California and my vote doesn't count in California. We're a blue state. We're going Biden. There's no question about it. So to me, it doesn't matter. So that's why she's just like, well, you follow this stuff. So wow, that was a weird little.
Sorry, that was me. I have our podcast on Zoom, so I can check the contact, whatever. And so I guess when I clicked on the text, it made it audio instead of muted. Sorry about that. That's
funny.
And I usually have my headphones on, so when I make that mistake, you don't hear it. But I'm trying it out without headphones.
I was like, wow, man, that's a really funny echo that I got going on there.
Yeah, that was weird. Well, also it's so that people can see my ears. So later on, if I'm have to flee and I'm supposedly killed by the Clintons or whatever, like you can check the pictures with my ears and know whether or not it was me. Anyway, yeah.
Have you seen when Obama's gone to the rallies? Like no one's even shown up for Obama. That's funny to me.
It really is.
Because his ego probably can't handle that.
Yeah.
He's probably like, I can't believe this. Where is everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, people are not caring about it anymore. Yeah. It's going to be wild. So I'm just intrigued by the way that, so we were talking about the polling earlier and how polling is used to influence, but even the liberal polling, and by the way, you can tell the difference in the polling, like who they're studying when, like, for crying out loud, they name some of these polls after liberal, quote unquote, progressivist things, right? So what's interesting to me though is that even more the more liberal polling, like Biden lost 3 points in a day.
Oh, really?
Right. Like, and weird stuff is happening where what were considered like solidly red, solidly blue states, there's weird stuff happening in both types of states that make them less of a sure thing. Like it's now some of these that would have been locked in, now they're like, well, we're probably going to win that state. So there's a lot of, and that's both for red and blue. There's just a lot of interesting question marks happening. I think it's going to probably go for Trump, but very.
I think it would if it wasn't for the fraud. And that's the part that throws me off in all this, because every election there's fraud, and on both sides too, by the way. Forget this whole, it's the Democrats only that are doing fraud. Republicans are doing it just as much.
Yeah. The Democrats, let's just face it, are better at it. Like
they've had more experience for sure.
Where I come from, like it was just like known, like once you died, you were going to be registered Democrat.
Right. You're voting.
That's just how it goes, like
my grandfather never voted Republican ever until the day he died. I'm sorry, never voted Democrat ever until the day he died.
Yeah,
and then
that's right.
All of a sudden he's voting Democrat. But I mean, so the fraud thing to me, especially in this election, I tell you, man, it's weird because I don't trust either side. Mm-hmm. Here in California, like a month or two ago, the state sued the GOP because the GOP had set up collection boxes and put like the word official, ballot collection box on it. And they refused to take them down. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, why is the GOP collecting everyone's ballots? I don't get that. Like, first of all, this is California. We know we're not winning in California. I mean, that's just California. It's the way it goes. But why are you collecting ballots? Because you want to be the harbinger of safety and we're going to make sure these get collected? I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. So both sides, man, I just look at it and I'm like, and I think part of it is they want that uncertainty for whoever wins. The other side's going to use the uncertainty, kind of like with Al Gore and Bush. Did Bush legitimately win? That whole thing. Supreme Court makes their decision and then says, and by the way, this only applies to this election this one time. We're not going to let you take what we're saying and use this every time. Like, that's shifty. It's like, you're picking a side there then.
Yep.
So.
What a time, man. It's a whole different time, brother.
It is. Yeah. It is. So I went to the range on Saturday and made sure that my red dots that I'd recently changed the batteries on were zeroed in properly.
Yeah. You're gonna need that there. I'm afraid. I hope you don't need it, but I'm afraid that you're one. You better have it ready, man. Because so we'll see what happens, man. It's
I thought it was funny. Your brother reaches out to me and says, "Hey, can you help me put together my build?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I ain't driving up to Glendale. You gotta come down here, man." That's friendship has its limits for Pete Mitchell. Driving to Glendale from where I live, that's beyond my limits right there.
Yeah, I noticed he was like, "Hey, we'll make you dinner," and you're like, "I appreciate that. Come on down.
Come down here." Oh man, but it sounds like your brother, man, he's doing all kinds of stuff with the foster kids and stuff like that. That's awesome.
They just got 3 kids all at once, and they're doing the good work, man. They're I'm actually really proud of them. And this is the second time they fostered, so they're the real deal. I'm proud of them. So they're doing pretty good. Really awesome. Proud of them. Yeah. So he's living the life, man.
Dude, he's right in the heart of LA County too. That sucks.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's Orange County has a little bit more freedom from the COVID stuff, but LA County is not for a long time. They're gonna remain in lockdown for a long time.
I was trying to get him and his wife and my sister to fly back here and just hunker down for a week or so during election stuff, because most of them work from home and whatever, right. and they were thinking about it, and then three
Then the
foster babies.
kid, yeah, that changes
and
everything.
they're like, we're not going anywhere, man. And I'm like, all right, well, praise the Lord, hunker down. And they've got, man, they're prepped, they're ready. They'll do what they need to do. Get some baby carriers. Like, have to bug out with baby carriers.
You're gonna have to put some plates on the baby carrier.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I am all stocked up. When I say stocked up, I'm stocked up for the month of November in ammo. So if things go down, I'm no longer like sitting here freaking out going, do I have enough? I've only got, I only had a few thousand rounds, but I've been able to increase that. So I'm feeling
nice.
Okay.
So
feeling like I could take care of business if need be.
When it comes to AR rounds, I don't have enough. I have enough for a light loadout, and I'll be all right as far as if it goes down. I can. I
think for AR rounds, I'm pretty good. I would say AR and AK rounds, I'm fine.
Nice. Good.
It was for me. It was the 9mm. I shoot that more than anything else. Even 45 and 40, I got enough. If I ran out of everything else, I could keep going with those two calibers. Mm-hmm. But, it's like, I love the PCC. I love my Ruger PCC. And that's one of the things that I was testing on Saturday because I had to change the battery on the red dot. And it's the old RMR, so you have to take it off and put it back on, and needed to make sure it was zeroed properly. And it didn't lose anything. I didn't have to adjust it at all. And I'm like, yeah, dude, man, I love this thing. This thing is rocking. Nice. It's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, the reason why I went to the range on Saturday is my buddy who just bought his first gun. He picked it up on Wednesday, can barely buy any ammo anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, luckily he was able to pick up like 100 rounds when he picked up the gun, because that's all they would sell him was 100 9mm rounds. And then when we went to the range on Saturday, he was able to pick up 100 more to use there at the range. And so just, taking those shots, putting them through the pipe, man, he just felt so much more confident. He's like, okay, I feel good. The gun works. I know it works. I know how to load the magazine. I know how to load the firearm. I'm good. And, right before we went, I took him through a mini, cleaning it. Just really didn't need to be cleaned. It had never been shot. Just lubing it up at this point, making sure everything's going to run smooth for him. And I'm like, all right, man, you're good.
Nice. Way to go, man. Good for him.
Yeah.
When our mutual friend in ministry and life and podcasting messaged me the other day, he's like, hey, I got a gun, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm proud of you, brother. And then he's like, I'm totally hooked. He's like, my wife is into, she loves it. And so he's talking about.
Have they gone to the range yet?
Apparently they just went to the range like this past weekend, I think.
Why didn't he ask me?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he said they went to the range and she shot. Now she's excited about it too. I go back and check the Facebook messages, man. We'll screen share these. No, I won't do that to him. No, man. I think he went. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, and I talked to him about. So he's thinking about getting a shotgun next. He's looking at a Remington 870. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And I told him, you can always do the Mossberg 500 and do the little bit cheaper route, and it'll do you just fine. But
I think I got the Mossberg 500. I think that's what I got.
I really like those things. Hold on, what did he say? Yeah, wife went shooting a month ago and loved it. Yeah. So maybe she just went shooting. Huh.
That's funny.
That is funny. All right. So good stuff.
But he's the same situation. He was worried about, I got young kids. What do I do? And I get it. When you got young kids, you got to take firearm safety seriously.
Yeah.
My kids know not to mess with my guns, but what happens as they get older? And then it starts to become hey, my dad's got guns, and then they have friends over. So you got to take all that stuff seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's why everybody ought to own a safe, not just a little gun case. You need a safe, and you need you need to have it so nobody else can access it until your child is really adult. And, like it might be a little bit different if I had 16, 17-year-old and I trusted his responsibility or her responsibility. And I'm like, okay, and this is how you access the safe. But man, all of my stuff I keep locked down just for so many reasons.
Yeah. My own personal rule is it's either physically on me or it's physically locked in a safe.
Yep. Same here, man.
It's just because of the young kid thing. I mean, technically, I think there's a law in California. If you have kids, you have to do that. I just think it's common sense. It does suck because I do have I have a safe on top of my nightstand that is, I don't remember who the maker of it is, but it's very quick to access it. Like I could literally with one hand access it because it's a punch code. You got a thumb punch code, and then you got 4 fingers, and you have to hit the right ones at the same time, and then it'll open. So the kids, they couldn't do it because they don't know what the proper code is. But the nice thing about that is if I have to grab a gun in the middle of the night real quick, it's just literally boom, pop, got the gun. I got a light on it. I use my Glock 17 there on the nightstand with a nice little light. I don't remember which light it is that's on it, and go take care of business and do what you got to do. But what I would prefer is if I lived in a free state, I guarantee you my home defense weapon would be an AR pistol. Like not even question. That would be an AR pistol. Of course, now we got the ATF going, oh, well, basically AR pistols are all short barrel rifles. I mean, they're trying to not limit that to the honey badger.
I know. Well, the honey badger is their little test,
right?
Because like the honey badger already meets the specifications that it needs to meet, and they don't care,
right? They have documents from the ATF.
Crying out loud. It's just an SB tactical brace. Like they have a letter from the ATF acknowledging that it's fine, and now it's going the other way.
Right.
I'm gonna get my blood pressure up over that if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
It makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Then I say things that put me on watch lists, and so it's better if I just say, let's share the love of
here's the
Christ
thing.
with
You're
ATF.
already on the watch list. So really, does it matter at this point?
Well, it matters as to how urgent they're treating me.
Dude, when I went with my buddy to pick up his firearm last week. And while we're in there, some of the guys who work there were talking about, I get the ads on Facebook all the time for the fuel filters.
Yes.
With an interesting little twist that they might have on the threading that just might happen to fit on a threaded barrel. And they were saying that they know people who have bought those and the ATF has showed up at their doors.
I believe it.
And I guess this one guy, he wasn't a U.S. citizen. And so he's like in all kinds of trouble. And I'm like, dude, I wonder if those things are just ATF honey holes. Like, I wonder if none of them are legit.
Yeah, I always thought it was ATF honeypotting, man. Like seriously, like that's what I assume. Like every time. Well, you remember the whole thing with the wall hook. Do you remember this Instagram ads were running with this hook that was like, it was just supposed to be a wall hook, but it looks exactly like an auto sear when you take it off of the wall mount.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so that was looking really like, I remember thinking like,
that's total entrapment though. Like that's legally entrapment.
So here's what was funny. So like, first of all, it was funny. Like I thought that's a funny joke. Ha ha. And then it's like, well, no, it's legit. You can buy these things. Well, then somebody I was following on what is probably now a deactivated account because of they had another purge on Instagram the other day. They were tracking like the website's domain, because you know how you can check out the who is information for a domain, was connected to a company that is listed as right next door to the FBI offices in like whatever. I mean, it was like next door to the Quantico office or something. Like, I mean, it was like a very flagrant where I'm like, this looks. Hold on. Yeah, but quit interrupting. Sorry.
Homeschooling has changed everything for us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Same here. Anyway, but But then, man, the location, like the best they could track it to, just sure looked like it was right next to, if not associated with, the FBI. And so everybody's like, please don't buy this thing.
I remember when China was selling basically a Glock 18 conversion. Like it was the sear basically for the back of your Glock 17 that would turn it into a Glock 18. And there were like 2,000 or 3,000 people in America that bought them, and the ATF got the list and started knocking.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, dude, see, this is why, first of all, you don't buy that stuff.
Yeah.
And well, let's just leave it at that in case the ATF is listening. You don't buy that stuff.
You just don't buy that stuff. You don't buy it. You don't buy it.
Buy is the key word.
Yeah.
What I find is funny, man, I was explaining to my buddy, I go, you do realize that there's actual, like, I wouldn't even call them books. They're more like pamphlets on the internet that tell you how to create anything you want, right? And because of the freedom of speech, they can't take those away. I'm like, anything you want, it's on there, and you can create it in a CNC machine and you got it. But it would be like, if I lived in a free state, first of all, I've said this before, I would get a silencer, no question. Like for hearing protection, to me, that just makes sense. I would probably make my own and get it serialized rather than buy one, just because I'd want the flexibility of, I'd want it to be the way I want it, so I could use whatever calibers I wanted to use with it, that kind of a thing. Which you could, create it in such a way that you could change the internals for different calibers and whatnot. I have no idea if that's legal. I don't live in a free state. I can't have a silencer, so I'd have to look into all the rules first. But that's my gut reaction to that. Yeah.
Well, and I know there are manufacturers who make them that are designed for a wide variety of calibers, and so I would imagine there's got to be a way that you can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of this stuff. I keep thinking like the whole thing of buying the stuff, essentially the auto sear from China or whatever, which I think wasn't that marketed for airsoft or something like that. Like that was.
I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't even remember.
I could be wrong. If I'm thinking of the same thing, it was like those were being marketed for airsoft, which would have been fine. Like, I mean, you can have a fully auto Nerf gun, right? Sure. Or a paintball gun. It's just, not a firearm. And so I think that was part of the thing, is they hadn't necessarily said that it was for that purpose. Of course, probably could very easily be used for that purpose. But there was my whole thing is like, man, you guys, the ATF, do you not have something better to do with your life? Like, I just keep coming back to,
clearly they don't.
Clearly. And so then I'm like, you guys are wasting your lives in enforcing unconstitutional law, which means it's not a law. So You're wasting your life. And so ATF agents that are listening right now, stop wasting your life. Give your life to Jesus. Repent of the ATF. And this sounds funny. I'm serious. Like, you're doing a wicked thing. Like, this is evil. You're taking away people's right to defense. You're harassing people for nonviolent crimes. You're part of tyranny. Like, you need to repent. Like, I'm not joking. Like, you need Jesus to forgive you for that sin. Which we'll talk about that another time. But seriously, guys, quit wasting your life. Come and talk to me. I mean, you're probably listening anyway. So give me a call, call me on some encrypted app. We could really talk. I won't tell your Fed buddies about it. I got Fed friends too, man. I don't hate you guys. I just want you to stop living your sin.
I love the memes that say ATF. It sounds like it would be like the coolest store in the world. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives.
Wouldn't that be great? I would totally open that store, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know what I would do? I would be like, I would also sell Bibles and theology material, right? And I would call the store First and Second, because we got our First Amendment, we got our Second Amendment going on. First and Second. I think we could run that.
See, I don't know if I could do that, only because I think there is too much of politicizing the Bible.
Oh yeah,
and turning the Bible into like this. Oh well, like how many Republicans go, "Oh, I'm a Christian because I'm a Republican." It's like, no, that's not actually.
That's not how it works, man.
That's not it, right? Oh, I said a magic prayer when I was 5. Really? Because the Bible doesn't say anything about a magic prayer. There's nothing in there that says you say a magic prayer and all of a sudden you're a Christian. That's some American thing that we've come up with, and it's like. So to me, I don't know that I'd want to combine those two for that reason. Like, it's one of the reasons. Like, I got this one shirt that I really like because I really like the design, and it's got like the Superman emblem, but instead of it being Superman, it's got the American flag inside of it, right? And I'm not like, I really liked the shirt, so that's why I bought it. And one day I wore it to church, and I was like, I really don't like wearing this to church because I think, again, everyone's like, oh, if you're a Christian, then you got to be pro-America. Look, I'm pro-America, but I don't believe that America is going to save me in the end. Yeah. Like, America is just as evil as, well, hopefully not as evil as other countries.
But they've done some evil stuff.
They certainly have. There's no doubt. I like
to distinguish between America, the country, and America's government. In all seriousness, I've used language of saying, like, America is a country. We have a government. The government is not usually on our side. In fact, part of the American ethos is we're supposed to be at odds with our government. Like, we're supposed to say, we don't trust you guys. You're not good. At best, you're a necessary evil. And that's mostly. So when people talk, America did this, America did that, and, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, no, our government did that. Like, right. I didn't do that. Like, shoot, most people that they send bombs to, I probably would be friends with. I am not okay with what our government does. Right. And I'm doing everything I can to say, hey, quit doing that, guys. Anyway, speaking of which, have you read the Tuttle Twins books yet?
No.
Familiar with these? So Pete, as soon as we get done here, I'm just going to tell you, I think you need to go to TuttleTwins.com or whatever it is. I think you need to buy all of the Tuttle Twins books. Like today. Like, your kids are at the perfect age. Tuttle Twins are libertarian children's books. Yeah, they're amazing. So and they go through all of these like principles. Like, first is like Bastiat's the law. And then they talk about like inflation, but like they tell it through the story of like grandpa is running out of money because inflation is essentially ruining his retirement savings. And like, there was one about food trucks, and the local barbecue guy worked up a whole deal with the mayor to protect his business and basically put the food trucks out of business. And like, the Tuttle Twins like saved the day. I kid you not. This is how libertarian I am. I got choked up reading the Tuttle Twins when they worked through the local city government to basically expose the mayor's corruption, highlight how evil protectionism is, and bring back a free market for food trucks so we could eat tacos and macaroni pizza. I'm reading it to my son, and I teared up. So like, as we talk about all these things, basically, we want to protect our freedom. Like, that's what the from concealment process is about, right? We've got our guns. That's just to protect the other things. But anyway, teach your kids about it. You got to get some Tuttle Twins, man.
That's funny, man. It reminds me of 2 different stories. So I remember watching this thing from Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
And he just goes, you know why I absolutely hate Texas? He goes, because when I was running the wine library, that's how we got started in the whole social media thing. Mm-hmm. And they were shipping wine all over the country. A bunch of local wine stores and probably liquor stores combined, however it gets sold in Texas. I know they have certain things they can buy in the store, and then you got to go to certain stores to buy certain things. Here in California, it doesn't matter. Like, you can buy anything you want at any store you want. But they got together and got the government to pass a law that said you can't mail wine to Texas unless you have a physical store in Texas. And he's like, well, we could either go open up a store in Texas or just screw Texas. We're not selling in Texas.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And so he was like, I hate Texas because they basically squashed, the freedom to be able to let their people buy wine cheaper.
Yeah.
Because the local stores wanted to get all the business and wanted to keep the prices inflated.
That's protectionism right there.
That's protectionism.
Yeah.
And And then it reminds me of there's a pastor that I'm friends with on Facebook. I've never met him face to face, kind of like you. I've never met face to face.
Yeah.
I've only know him as a Facebook friend. And he's really into whiskey and cigars, like or bourbon. I don't really know the whole differences there, but he's always like doing all this stuff about bourbon. And he really wanted this one particular brand that he can't buy in his state. I think he's in Philadelphia. And he's like, hey, can you, and he reaches out to me, hey, can you buy this and mail it to me? And that's technically illegal for me to do. And I'm like, look, I got too many people watching me, man. I can't do that.
Sale. He's trying to get you to do a straw sale.
I'm like, I can't do that, man. I got too many people watching me. Like, you don't understand. I do this podcast with you. I'm like, I got to live my life clean because, baby, they watching me and they can use one little thing to trip up my whole life. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I can't do it. I totally agree. It's completely illegal what they're doing, but I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
So,
man, no, I'm with you, man. I hate it. It's not good.
Because I guess that was part of the amendment when they repealed prohibition. They let each state still keep their own laws, whatever they wanted, and so basically that's why each state can do whatever they want on alcohol. It's in the Constitution with the repeal of prohibition.
Interesting how all those things play out, isn't it?
Yeah. Wasn't there like something back in Prohibition days where they would sell these grape concentrate and they said, do not do this because it'll create wine? They like gave you the instructions.
That
like,
sounds about right.
Whatever you do, don't do this and ferment it for 10 to 12 days because you'll create wine or something like that.
Oh, well, speaking of the don't do this stuff, like the guys who are like, whatever you do, don't drill out ... and ... Those are always fun. I don't know if you've seen the thing recently. Somebody made an AR lower receiver out of a block of wood. And I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Drilled it out, which you can do. Like, you do it. And it just said something like too poor for a 3D printer. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm thinking about how everything is housed, and it's like, it wouldn't be ideal, but it's also not impossible. Like, you could
well, that's the whole thing that I keep saying, because people have a big problem with the polymer lowers for AR-15s, and I'm like, yeah, but the lower literally does nothing other than hold everything together.
Yeah.
Like, that's not where the bullet's going to fire out of. It fires out of the upper. It fires out of the chamber. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it's not ideal, but so what?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I'm trying to think of the things that could go wrong. The things that could go wrong would all have to do with if you drilled it out too loose, if you didn't have a good
I think after too much time, the vibration might, and depending on the wood.
Probably. I mean, yeah, so much of that's going to depend on the type of wood, and it's not a good idea. But man, it can be done. Like, the reality of it is that you could do that, and it would be a functioning gun. And
if you did that here in California, you'd have to notify the DOJ, and they'd give you your serial number to put on it.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to not, go to jail, or
if you wanted to not get in a lot of trouble in California.
Have you seen the picture of it's Macaulay Culkin as an adult smoking a cigarette and looking very surprised? Have you seen this? He's got this long hair. He looks pretty rough, but he's like, right, and he's got a cigarette in his hands. And so the meme or the caption that goes with it is something like, dang it, who cares? It's not even my dog, it's her dog, and I don't like it that much anyway. I'm drilling the third hole. And so then, like, his reaction is like, it's great. The memes are so good right now, man. So good. I wake up in bed, like I wake up in the morning, I start looking at memes, I start laughing, I wake my wife up. It's whole thing. What
I think is funny is right before we started the podcast, I was reading there on the internet that America's bought 17 million new guns, or there's 17 million new gun owners in America, as they're all getting ready for the unsettlement that they're expecting after the election. And it's unfortunate, but I'm expecting it too. I'm expecting it because I think Trump's going to win, and I think that's just going to set off the left.
Yeah.
Like, the right seems to be a little bit more together.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not everyone. Obviously, the example you gave earlier of them going after the Biden bus.
Yeah. But even then, like, that's not okay. But we're talking about harassment. We're not talking about like breaking windows and
right.
Building like it's annoying someone, and that's not good. I don't want that. But like if we're going to compare that, if that's the most extreme pro-Trump violence we've seen, let's compare that to the most extreme Biden violence. Biden violence is much worse.
Right.
Or we just compare Kamala Harris's policies that she's already enacted. That's legit violence. That's locking people up for nonviolent crimes or for non-crimes, or letting someone die, the death penalty, when you know they're innocent and you withhold the evidence. Like,
I still think it's funny that that meme, a vote for Joe Jorgensen is a vote for Joe Jorgensen. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump. A vote for Biden is a vote for Harris. I'm like, yeah, at what point is he going to, if he wins, is he stepping out? Like, is he making it till January 20th? Or is it just, when's the handover going to happen? Because he's not going to be president for very long.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What if he doesn't even get sworn in? What if he declares, like, what if they declare because he is not well. Like, and everybody knows it. Like, there are liberal newspapers writing about how, man, this guy does not look well. This is not a good thing here. So, like, what if he bows out after he's elected?
Right.
Does Harris become president? Like, how does that work? There's a whole bunch of question marks in all this. Things that we shouldn't even have to worry about. Normally, like, that's part of the vetting, that they're like, come on, you're not going to be our candidate. Like, just no. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And which is like the very fact that another old white guy is the guy for the Democrats tells you, like, there's shady backroom stuff going on to make that happen. I mean, come on. Like,
well, we're going to find out over the next week. Between now and our next podcast, we'll see what's going down in America.
You know what I'm picturing? I just rewatched Community, or I'm rewatching Community, and I'll rewatch the paintball episode, if you've seen that, where the main character, Jeff Winger, goes and takes a nap in his car, and then he wakes up to this apocalyptic wasteland where they're playing paintball to win priority check-in. And I'm like, that could happen. Like, we could just wake up November 4th and be like, yeah. So, and by the way, did you guys know, if you're a Republican, you got to vote November 3rd. The Democrats actually have to vote November 4th.
Oh, is that how we're doing it this year? Okay.
Yeah. And specifically, if you were a Bernie supporter, you really are supposed to go on probably the 5th or 6th, because they give you priority COVID-free check on that day. And so that's just what I'm recommending to all of our non-listeners. Yeah.
Dude, what I think is funny is I actually did vote for Bernie because in California, when you're not with the political party, you can vote in the Democratic primary. And I go, who do I think has no chance whatsoever in the general? Yeah. That's who's getting my vote.
Yeah.
Bernie.
I am convinced that his whole purpose in running was to move the party left. Like, I think he knew he was
probably.
He's moving people left. Yeah. Anyway, we got so many random things we've talked about today. I hope it was
great. Now my dog is peeing inside the house.
Oh, no.
I can see her right now.
That sucks.
Stupid dog.
I'm sorry, man.
House training the dog is just not working. It's not working. I got to take her back. Got to return her.
Sorry, man. My dog came to me already trained, so I can't complain.
Oh, lucky you. Lucky you.
I was. Anyway, so anything else we need to cover before,
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, be sure, as always, check out learms.net. We got more training coming up. Pretty excited about that. We're going to do some, we've got a new class coming out related to non-handgun training.
Nice.
And so worth checking that out. And then we've got something special related to care and maintenance of your AR that's out there. So
beautiful.
Anyway, appreciate you guys. Check out learms.net, and we will see you next week if the world still exists then.
Stay strapped or get clapped. We'll talk to you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
See you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.